Good evening, everybody, and
evening,
welcome
everyone.
to the Icecast Live. Hey, Andy, how's it going, mate?
All right, Shane, nice to see you, mate. Happy Friday.
Angie. Yeah, happy Friday. We're going to be kicking off the weekend big style today.
We've got an interesting hour in front of us.
Yeah.
Just found out that one of our guests is live from
New Zealand.
Yeah. So that I think most times we do these, we get an interesting location for our for one of our guests. We've had the Ukraine, we've had Tasmania, we've got Birmingham, we've got Sheffield,
all those lovely locations,
exotic places. Yeah.
So tonight we're going to be talking to 7 creators from the 77, which is the breakaway hit indie UK anthology, and we're going to be talking to 7 of the guys today, including one of the directors of the company. And we've got a comment there from Ben, who's one of the publishers, saying break a leg, everyone. We hope it's not that violent, but we will be. And we're really looking forward to talking to everyone, so we're going to roll through this as quick as we can. Roll VT. Go on, Sam, you can do it. Sam, this is technology in action, isn't it? Look at that. Come on, Sam, roll the VT. I'm going to... And good evening, everybody. Look at all those beautiful faces.
Look at that. Wow.
Welcome to the Icecast.
Look at that. Look at those smiling faces. Evening, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Evening.
Come on, in unison. Good evening, Mr. Richmond. You can do
Good
evening, Mr.
Richmond.
Oh, beautiful.
Lovely job.
Make a choir out of this, guys. And we've got some more guests. We're just wow, overwhelmed with guests. Fantastic.
How many have we got?
I think we've got about
7.
Seven guests. 7 guests.
All 7.
So we are welcoming tonight everybody, almost everybody from the 77 by the looks of it. If you don't know about the 77, Dave Bedford is here to tell us all about it. Go on, Dave. Tell them all about the 77.
The 77 is an anthology that has come from a group of people that were just comic lovers. We originally ran the 1977 to 2000 AD site, and from that we had an idea to create a retro anthology that mirrors the stuff about childhood. We all know what it's called. So things like 2000 AD, action, it's new creators, old creators have kind of paired it together. So yeah, that's kind of...
I think we might have had a little bit of some interference there when you were talking, Dave. We lost you for a little bit.
I have no idea if this is working because all things keep crackling.
We've got a little bit of a crackle, but I think we got the gist of it. So we've got lots of artists on tonight. So we're going to look at everybody's work and hopefully find out a little bit more about all of you guys in the little bit of time that we've got. So we are going to start at the top, I guess, and introduce Brendon. If you would like to show us some of your, Sam, if you can show us some of Brendon's artwork, please. And if Brendon, if you want to tell us a little bit what you do at the 77 and what stories you're involved with, please.
Sure. First of all, I'll check that you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Good.
Hi, Brendon.
Because I can't hear the other guests, but that's all right. I'll catch them later. Yeah. I've just taken on the job as the new art editor, which is going to be interesting. Yeah. Just sort of keeping it in-house, so to speak. But the stories the first story I did for the 77 was Steve McManus's job, which was
wow.
So I'd been out of comics for a good 20 years. So the last 14 years I've been an illustrator, but not in comics. So getting back into it was pretty difficult, and Facebook found me the 77 to 2000 AD group, and so I signed up to them, a bunch of old middle-aged gentlemen who used to read the same comic as me, and it was just before October last year, so there were all the competitions and whatnot. So that's where I started posting up some of my art, and did an audition for Steve's story, which was good. And since that time, there are going to be another couple of episodes of that coming.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I've been working on my own story, Martian Law, which
I like that. I like that title. A little bit of a play on words there.
Yeah, bit of a steal from Uncle Pat.
Yeah.
He was okay with it though.
I was going to say, is Pat aware of that? And what did he say?
He said as long as the characters don't look anything like his ones and the story doesn't resemble his, then it's probably going to be all right.
That's cool.
So this was a few years ago when I was just coming out of my midlife crisis. I thought I'd have a crack at animation, and so I wrote a song which was about all the things I wanted to draw. So I wanted to draw space, I wanted to draw Mars, I wanted to draw American sheriffs, I wanted to draw big guns, I wanted to draw 1950s cars, girls on rocket skates.
That's quite a tall order there.
Yeah. So I wrote a song which included all those things, and over the next couple of years I put together a little animation, and that was interesting. It got me a couple of jobs, but it made me realize that I don't ever want to do animation because it takes too long. Yeah.
Very time consuming.
Yeah. So I can't see what's on the screen. Oh,
there we go. There's some artwork.
Oh yeah. So there are a few little screenshots from that there somewhere. If you just flick through those real quick, they're not that exciting to look at, but.
So is this your artwork on the cover here then, Brendon?
I can't tell because I can't see what's on the screen.
No.
Oh, right.
It's something to do with the cross the world connection.
I see.
So you have to
this
describe...
is just general 77 images. They're the different variant covers.
We've got one that says "frack off." And it looks
that's Neil. That's the magnificent Neil.
Ah.
Yeah, and the other one was as well.
Yeah.
I done issue 2 cover.
So
variant.
So I did the story relating to that animation, and Ben, I started off with a bit of a cartoony style, and Ben thought that I was probably capable of more, so he pushed me into the more serious science fiction style. So it's good having an editor who knows what you can do and knows what they want. Makes a big difference to the outcome.
Cool. So this artwork we're looking at now, apparently, I am informed, is Neil's artwork. So I guess we should talk to Neil next if he's on the screen. Can we see him? Where's Neil? Blackbird. That's the man. There we go. Yes. If we put you on the screen, Neil, if you want to tell us about your work. Yes, we're still here.
Hello.
You want to tell us if you want to tell us about your work and what you do at the 77.
What do you want to know?
Anything at all, whatever you think is cool, mate.
We've had 3 fantastic issues. It's a case of artists and writers getting together, creating crazy stories, and getting them published and getting them out of more people. That is the point of being an artist.
Yeah,
we have
definitely.
to do this. It's our passion. So I think the passion is really, really starting to come forward for the 77. It's like there's plenty more things to come. You mark my words, you'll see it.
Well, I really like the look of the artwork there. That's a great image. Yeah, great stuff. Great
Thank
stuff.
you, yeah. I was slightly erect then.
Was that the inspiration for the character? Was it?
Yeah, well, it might have been.
And of course, we've got.
Yeah, I've got to say, honestly, everybody involved in it is 110%. It's like not like some people are getting together and just like making a laugh of it. Everyone is taking it really seriously, and we're sure that we're keeping the comic book industry alive.
It's great to see. It's great to see all these British anthologies coming to the front. We were talking to some other guys the other week from other British anthologies, and there seems to be a real energy at the moment. And 77 looks to be at the forefront of that. It's very, very exciting. Very exciting.
I agree. I'll see some of the work come from other artists and writers, and it's like they're trying in a race again, like what they did in the 80s and 90s. They're trying in a race again to keep something alive, and it's beautiful work.
Mm-hmm. It's really encouraging. It's really encouraging.
Okay, it's also the way that things are being produced these days. You know, with the Kickstarter, it's such a a vibrant way of raising money. You know, when we've done publishing in the past, the last 20 years, you always lose money, as Shane and I know. But now, you cover your costs straight away. You know, it's great.
Anyone's option, isn't it? It's open to anybody. It's like a dream. Like you open a dream up. You can't take these things away from people. Yeah, great. You get people like, I don't know, like our contemporaries who can draw pictures beautifully or write a beautiful story. But then you get another kid who's 14-year-old who needs to write a story and get somebody who draws it, and it's a world bestseller. We need to express ourselves in art this way. It's excellent.
Absolutely
excellent what's happening.
Yeah, really, very much so. Okay, next I think we'll talk to. Thank you a lot for that, Neil. That was great. Can we talk to Mr. Lew Stringer next, please? Next on the hockey. How you doing, Lew?
You mean the legendary Lew Stringer?
The legendary Lew Stringer.
The legendary.
Who doesn't really need any introduction, I would imagine, to anybody who's watching this.
Well, I don't know. Well, I'm fine, thanks. Thanks.
Nice to see you, Lew.
So, what do you want to know?
Well, we want to know what you do at the 77, what your story is, and if we can get Sam to put some artwork up on the screen, that would be really good.
Well, I write and draw a strip called Sergeant Shouty of the Moon Force, and which is a humour serial, one-page humour serial every issue, and he's kind of a spoof on Captain Hurricane, if you remember those strips from.
Right.
To have that 70s sort of vibe sort of thing, but it's more than that. I mean, it's a spoof in the fact that he has a raging fury and tears tanks apart and that kind of thing. But we find out in issue 3 that there's more to him than that, and he's actually a synthetic creation, and the villain is going to be being manipulated without his knowledge by the villain. So we'll find out what happens there in future issues.
Sounds like it's got a little bit of a real sort of sci-fi angle to it as well, then, Lee.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a while since I did a science fiction strip, so I thought, oh, there he is on screen.
Hey, there you go.
That's from the first episode, and it's all he has these sort of outbursts over nothing in particular. It's completely. Over the top, because in this on that panel there, he's in search of biscuits, so and nothing's going to stop him.
That's brilliant. I love it. Absolutely love it. How did you get involved with the 77, Lew? Was it?
I think Ben just asked me. You know, the editor. I think he just asked me, and it seemed like a good idea, because the thing about the 77 is we've got creative control and ownership of the strips. That's the villain there on the screen now. Dr. Plank.
Brilliant.
Yeah. If you're going to do comics, just make them ridiculous. You know, why not? So that's what I thought. Yeah, so he asked me. I thought, well, I'll get involved with this because it's sounding like a really good comic, and it's good to see that balance of newcomers as well as, you know, established professionals. And each issue is getting better. I think, you know, the third one was great. I'm looking forward to issue 4.
Yeah, it's looking more and more professional the more it goes on. The design elements of it, the actual content of the books, it's just getting stronger and stronger every time. And and do you see yourself as a long-term member of the team?
I hope so. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I've got no sort of this serial will probably run for about 7 or 8 issues, I think. I don't know. And then we'll see after that, you know. So yeah, you know, it'd be nice to stay involved with it.
Cool. Thank you very much for that, Lew. I'm sorry we can't stay much longer with you, but we'll try and get around everyone. We'll get you back. We'll get you back. Yeah. I'm just going to go through some of the comments now on the chat, because there's quite a lot of comments this time. So we've got Martin Fisher. Hey Martin, how you doing? Saying hello to Ben. Ben isn't on the broadcast, but he's on the chat, so that's cool. We've got Andy Hayes. Hey guys, thanks for being part of making British comics great again. Bit of a Trumpism there, but hey, never mind. Thanks for that, Andy. We've got a comment from Pazbin1. London represent. So I'm assuming we've got some Londoners in the crowd there. Yes, I think that could be the case. Jeremy
across
Dunn.
The breadth of the nation.
Yeah. Jeremy Dunn. All right, everyone. All right, Jeremy. How you doing? Hope you enjoyed the stream. Ed Doyle. Greetings, all you 77ers from.
We had a good chat with Ed last week, didn't we?
We did.
Ed was on here last week.
He was indeed. And he was one of the other indie books, the Sentinel. I mustn't say the. It is just Sentinel. That was a great chat. And we've just got a waving hand from Steve Bull. Hey Steve, how you doing? We'll wave back. From Serian O. Evening. Thanks for letting me join. You're quite welcome. I assume he means join the comic, not the stream. Yeah, it could be Kieran. Is it Saren or Kieran? I'm not sure. Hi Martin, we've got a conversation going on in the chat. Steve Bull, go team, and it's just a conversation basically between Ben and everybody else. Well, Ben, hey, glad you're there, mate.
Yeah, you're in the background.
Lots of chat.
The puppet master, pulling the strings. Pull the strings.
Apparently somebody's giving away some spoilers. We got careful with that, guys. You know, people get upset about spoilers. So next we're going to talk to Sinclair. We're going to bring him on. Hey, Sinclair, how you doing?
Hello, not too bad. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me on.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
So I'll just give a bit of background about me.
Go for it.
I've always liked comics. Basically, I was an early buyer of 2000 AD, and I also bought Marvel comics. So that's the two kind of genres that I like. I did kind of have dreams of maybe drawing for 2000 AD when I was younger, and I sort of fell out of it. I'm not really sure why. Around about 2000, I picked it up again for a bit, and then I got discouraged for a couple of reasons. I really can't remember precisely why I got discouraged, but basically I came back, and I came back to the Thought Bubble Festival because they were running the 2000 AD artist search competition.
Ah, yeah.
That's the one where they put the script up and you draw 4 pages from that. Yeah. So that was 2018. So I feverishly spent, about 2 weeks putting together what I thought at the time was the best artwork I'd ever done. And I took it up there, stood nervously in the queue, and actually got into the final, which is really pleasing.
Wow.
And had my artwork examined by the 3 people on the panel. So I didn't win, but it was a good experience. You know, it was great. And it also gives you a kind of sort of a stamp of approval, having got past Tharg, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I assume you got some good constructive comments back during the process, did you?
Yes, I did actually. Yes. I mean, I've definitely improved. I mean, the comments seem to be around the inconsistency of my inking at the time. So I think I've made some improvements in regard to that. I mean, the page up on the screen at the moment is actually one of the pages from the issue 4 that's just coming out.
Right. So a sneak peek.
Yeah, sneak peek. I don't know if I should have done that, but anyway.
Ben, is that okay? I'm sure he'll tell us on the chat whether it's okay or not. Well, it's too late.
Ben might have gone off to the toilet.
And there are other people chatting, so
hopefully the readers will be excited by what they see, you know. Anyway, so so I basically met Ben and became part of the 77 because I had another go last year and I got through to the final again. Unfortunately, I didn't win. So, but yeah,
former boy band.
Yeah.
That seems to be what runners-up do on these talent shows, isn't it? Former band.
Liberty X, something like that. Yeah,
that's the one. That's the one. The runners-up always seem to do better in the charts than the winners. Anyway,
or like Mel did 2 weeks ago, didn't he? He did Rejected.
He did. Yes.
You know. That's a good.
I'm sure there's a
way around it.
After that. I'm sure I bought Ben a couple of drinks.
Well, he says here, Sinclair owes me a pint. He's obviously keeping count.
So I met Ben as a result of being at Thought Bubble. We sort of agreed to meet up through Facebook, and he said, you know, I'll come and support you there, which was very kind of him. He came on and there's no pressure. Basically, he said, you know, you've got this in the bag, Sinclair. Yeah. So anyway, it was good. So he later on contacted me and says, we got a strip in the 77 that I think that you'd be ideal to draw. And very kindly, he just basically let me crack on with it. He didn't insist on me having any kind of audition, which is very kind of him, because I've been before where, you know, you sort of handed up artwork and then it's not gone through and you sort of feel maybe not deflated, but you feel like you could have spent time doing something else because maybe. Anyway, so he let me crack on with it, which was great. And I think I appeared in an issue ahead of the one that I was supposed to be debuting. I think there was another artist dropped out, so they put my script in. And ever since then, it's been very enjoyable. It's I like a bit of future war, and you know, this basically fits it in. It's nice, straightforward, plenty of violence. So nothing too complicated, you know, no decompressed storytelling. We're just going to go straight in there and shoot stuff. So
who would you say your main influences were from? I assume it's going to be a 2000 AD artist, or are you going to be surprised?
Well, I mean, the problem is I've got so many. I used to be mainly 2000 AD when I was younger. Then I started to, because I quite enjoy superhero comics. So Jim Lee was a bit of an influence, definitely. And then maybe some of the later ones like Travis Charest, David Finch, you know. And of course, the usual. But for my early influences, it's Massimo Bellardinelli, who's
oh wow,
he was such an amazing artist. You know, his work rate was incredible, and you know, the quality of his artwork was just astounding. I remember I actually saw it at a comic art exhibition in London. I think there's a little comic art museum down near, and that's So, and when I saw it up close, it was just wonderful to see that work. Yeah, so he was a big influence. Kevin O'Neill, I loved his stuff. Yeah, it's everything basically. It's too many. Yeah. I'm afraid that you can't help yourself. You go, oh, I love the way that's done. You know,
you bring it all in, don't you? You mash it all up in your head, and then something totally unique comes out afterwards.
Yeah, and going back to the 77, I'd like to say that it is a wonderful thing to be part of this anthology. And you know what's great about it is that as Neil said, the artists are really pushing themselves, and every month you get a better quality of art. And you go, I've got to push myself harder. You know, I've got to make my art better, so that you feel like you can stand among as equals to them. So it's great, actually. I think it must be a little bit of like what the early 2000 AD was like, when you had all the artists, because I think basically artists would like to say, yeah, we're all here to help each other, which we are, but I think there's a little bit of competitiveness, isn't there?
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's healthy, isn't it? You compete and you spur each other on, and you just keep improving. I think it really helps with encouragement, and to have that little bit of and you get advice as well from each other, I think, don't you?
It's also interesting that you've got in the 77, you've got some very well established professionals with new people, and also people of our age that have always wanted to do comics, never had the chance. We got people like Lew, Bam, Connor Boyle.
A great mix. A great mix.
Yeah, a really good mix.
Different types of creators. It's really encouraging. So we've had some more comments from Dorian Harris. Neil,
we got people coming back.
Yeah, they're coming back.
Are we going to be stable?
We'll do our best.
A stable table.
When will Bark be available to buy? I just spotted your sketch down the tubes. It looks great, and I'm intrigued. So that's a question from Neil. If you want to reply to that in the chat, Neil, that would be great. We've also had another comment from Dave Heeley. Hey, folks, good to see the 77 in force tonight. It is indeed. That's in force, not in the force, to be confused with Star Wars. James Gray, hi all from the Brawler Brasher. I think there's a reference there to the Brawler comic. Steve Bull, fuck yeah, Stringer in the 77 for life. I think we've got a fan of Lew there. Andy Hayes, no trumping here. British comics are in a good place now with the likes of the 77, Sentinel, Space Warp, etc. I'll agree with that.
Yeah.
We've already read that one. Filippo Roncone, how do all? I think we spoke to Filippo as part of the team with Mel, didn't we, the other week? Grief Hammer. Yeah, it was good. Grief Hammer. Sinclair's work is every bit as good as any other pro. Those competitions are just gatekeeping or worse free content. We got a comment there. Okay.
Politics.
Sinclair's awesome.
A little bit of comics politics there, and that's a fair opinion, I'd say. I wouldn't necessarily agree with it, but I think it's a fair opinion. Jeremy Dunn, definitely. I think Jeremy's agreeing with Grief there. So okay, let's go on to Andy Sawyer, isn't it? Can we talk to Andy, Sam, and can we have a look at some of his work on the screen? Just moving on from that comment from Grief Hammer, what's your take on that, Andy? If we can get him on the screen.
What take
He's
on
frozen.
The 77 or?
Your take on the competitions being, gatekeeping.
You there, guys?
So 2000 AD keep trying to get free content, don't they, basically? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Oh, we've got a throw. Oh, here we go.
He's back.
So who's trying to get free? Sorry, who's trying to get free content?
So we're saying that 2000 AD run every year that thought
I'll
bubble.
bring the comment there. Sinclair's work is every bit as good as any other pro.
Yeah, no. It's. I think there's a healthy side to it where 2000 AD are actually doing something with the sort of the underground sort of talent of artists. So I get that side of it. But there's a lot of people that put their heart and soul into it. I had a very brief look at it. I looked at the script. I wasn't interested. You can go and do live work yourself. You can go and do live work for the 77. You can go and do live work for Space Warp, Sentinel, Brawler. You can actually, or you can just go and do your own stuff. Of course, I'd love to work for, like, say, 2000 AD, but my happy home is the 77. And I just think I looked at it this year and it looked like a lot of hard work. And yeah, it'd probably raise your profile. but it was just not for me.
Yeah, that's fair enough, man. I think there is an element, isn't there? You put a lot of work in, and unless you sort of one of the finalists, that work, you don't gain anything from that work. So, and where you could be working on something of your own, for example, in the 77 or your own book or whatever. So I think there's a place for it. I think it can be encouraging for people. And as Sinclair said, you know, he felt really good when he got to third, I think it was. You know, so there's positives to it as well, I think. Comment from Ben. Robin Henley, who won the 2000 AD comp, is doing a series with Ian Edgington in a few issues. Well, that's cool. That's really cool. Thanks for that, Ben.
But they also do the art stars as well every quarter, don't they? 2000 AD. To try and get in more.
I mean, that's fantastic
talent.
I think I got a lot of good things to say about 2000 AD. To be honest. Yeah, definitely. I think that's the way to do it, to be honest. So, Andy, how did you get involved with the 77, mate?
Yeah. Very similar to Brendon. Short version as a kid, much like Sinclair. So you had things on the outskirts, Commando, War Picture Library. But that fateful day in Streatham, my father came home from work and he gave me, I think it's Prog 281. I've probably got that wrong, but it was the first episode of Block War. Bolland cover, McMahon.
Yeah.
Straight in the front room, grabbed some paper and started drawing, age 5. It's pretty much been 2000 AD all the way through. But around about although I started getting into other stuff, I sort of followed the British invasion into American comics. So Alan Davis on The Outsiders, Brian Bolland, obviously Dylan went over there and Gibbons and stuff like that. But round about the turn of the century, comics just died. The whole show was like one sort of big wizard type thing. The image thing, the variant covers, that really killed
massive
me.
implosion, wasn't it?
I'd
Massive
implosion.
implosion.
Yeah. But I'd also walked away for 25 years from artwork. You know, I used to draw on the back of envelopes on the phone to people, or you're paying a bill, you do the odd little dread head or maybe like a fist or a gun.
I think we're all familiar with that one.
Yeah, and then sort of dropped it. So, and I've got to give a shout out to the Everything Comes Back to 2000 AD boys. They did their first October. And I obviously thought I was a lot better than I was, but I really threw absolutely everything into it, and it was 31 days of solid drawing. It garnered some attention, and what's really interesting about the 77 dynamic, and it also dovetails nicely into how Kickstarter works, is yes, we've got established talent, but it's not just a case of, oh, we're going to be nice to you and we're going to give you a platform. If they see something in someone, they're willing to give them the full shot. You can have the stage, you can have the microphone. They turn the amps up for you, and you can really have a really good go at what you're trying to do. And the support there from Steve, Dave Heeley, Mr. Bedford, Joe, Morgan, all of those guys, and obviously the editor Ben, and all the other artists and writers have been fantastic. You hear stories of how it can be. It's been an absolute pleasure from start to finish.
It's amazing, really, when you have that.
We've got lots more to do.
Well, yeah, it's not finished yet. When you have that many creators, you always expect to have some like sort of awkward like personalities that make it difficult, don't you? But to have that many together and for it all to be working so well and to have such a great camaraderie, that's a really cool thing. That's lovely artwork, by the way, mate, on there that we're showing right now. Can you see the screen there?
Yeah, we can see that. Yeah, that's page 1, and that's a panel from page 2 of episode 3 of The Cell. So a lot of people will be seeing these for the first time, but it's good. But working with Bambos is a pleasure. He's an absolute superstar. So The Cell was meant to be a one-shot. And then we spoke about it, and we developed it more and more. And it's really grown legs.
Let's bring Bambos on then, so that we can talk a little bit about it.
Hey
Bambos.
Hello.
I'm glad to see your internet's now working.
Yeah, I'm on the wife's computer. Hello, Andrew. Both Andrews.
Two Andrews. Yeah.
There you go. Nice to see you.
Buddy?
Nice to see you, Bam.
So what's the cell about then, Bambos? Tell us a little bit about it.
As Andrew said, it started off as a kind of a single issue, just a kind of Tharg's Future Shock type story, where a guy gets thrown into a cell, and you think he's a bit mad because he loves it, this little being in this little cell. And then at the end of it, you realize he loves being in a little cell because the world is massively overpopulated and overcrowded. So starting from that, what Andrew said, he wanted to carry on with it. And I liked what Andrew had done. Obviously he's a great artist. And I just took it as a challenge, turn what was originally a one-off with a twist ending into an ongoing series. So I started exploring what kind of a world it would be. So
that's really that's really sort of it's a real opportunity to tell some interesting stories there, isn't there? So does this has gone from a single concept to possibly an ongoing story then?
We're gonna I said to Ben that I think the ideal format is the kind of European album, so at least 48 pages. So Andrew and I have planned that out completely. So a 48-page at least.
And that's something that potentially the 77 will be publishing as a graphic album.
Yes.
We're not going to call it graphic novel because they're not, but as an album. That's lovely idea.
Yeah, it's really exciting to think that all of these stories in this anthology could give birth to a series of books as well. I mean, that's just really, really exciting. We've had some comments actually about the art there, and from Andy
loving
Hayes,
it all,
loving all the art. Well, yes, please. Another comment from Steve Bull. You better screenshot this, Shane. You're going to look back at this Hall of Legends in a few years. I think you could be right there. It could be like I think someone said earlier, this is a little bit like 2000 AD was back in the day when it was really fresh and really exciting. And I'm not saying it's not fresh and exciting now, but that new feel, that's very special feel when you've created something new. I think that's really exciting.
But it must be interesting to yourself, though, Bam, because, I mean, obviously you've had a very illustrious career.
Careful.
Well, no, you have. But, you've worked on some, in the production of comics. No, in the production of comics, you've drawn, written, lettered.
Oh, yes.
Coloured.
Yeah.
The whole lot. So you've been, when people look lovingly at Marvel UK, you were at the forefront of it, weren't you? You were in the bullpen, as it were.
Well, when they did have a bullpen for a little while downstairs. I mean, as you say, chances are that in the future, a couple of the artists, maybe 2-3 of the artists on the 77 will go on to bigger and better things. And I mean, the 77 it's great that Kickstarter can support a regular comic. Hopefully
when you say bigger and better, I think this is quite a big and this is a good place to be. It's if you go out of this, you might go somewhere where the editorial isn't as flexible, or the environment is as creative. So for instance, if someone went to work for Marvel, you just get swallowed up.
You can really shine in a book like this, can't you? That's the thing. You because it's so focused, you can shine in this environment. And as the 77 grows and gets bigger and bigger, you're there at the start, and you can be.
It's like bands that were on like the Creation label. If they left Creation and then went to a bigger, what's the point of that? You're in this
spoken like a true punk.
Well, yeah. You got it, man.
Well, I mean, hopefully the 77 will go monthly at some point. That's what I'm pushing for. That's what I keep every time I speak to Ben. I'm just saying.
It's getting that route to market, because the Kickstarter, if you use Kickstarter, you know, you've got to factor in how long it takes to raise the funds.
So you can't do
we
that.
Well, we had the shift on, didn't we?
Similar conversation actually
a month ago. So shift, I'm sure we've all seen.
I've got my copy now.
I've got the shift.
So there are new stand monthly title, monthly-ish. So
it is hard to do it monthly with Kickstarter, isn't it? So you've got to build that fan base, haven't you, to get to the point where you can just publish monthly and have the confidence of not having to raise the money.
I mean, if we had Comic Cons back when we were having one Comic Con a month, you could literally launch your comic every month at a different Comic Con and sell a couple hundred copies. You know, you could do it that way. But currently,
but they'll be back.
There ain't none.
They'll be back. We've got another comment from Grief Hammer. Andy's work reminds me of 90s Ian Gibson strips. I hope you can hear that, Andy. That is quite a compliment there. And when you
very kind.
work with an art, this is a nice comment, isn't it? Yeah. Do you guys sort of match yourselves up, or does Ben come in and decide who's going to work with who? How does that work?
Ben really. Ben
He's
tells you who he's got lined up for you.
And he seems to have good instincts in that regard, I have to say. You know, from what I've seen, it's a good matchup. You're not going to disagree with that, I know.
You can say whatever you want. He's not on the chat anymore, look.
If
you say something, he's going to come on the chat. Where is he?
Apart from his choice of writers.
See, there you go. A little bit of modesty in there.
Being modest.
Well, thanks very much for that, Bambos. We really appreciate it.
Right, which of these lovely guys haven't we chatted to?
Let's have a look. I think we've chatted to almost everybody now.
Can we bring Dave back on?
Let's see if we can get Dave back and if we can get a better signal so he can tell us a little bit more about the plans of 77. Let's see what happens. Hey, Dave, how you doing there?
How are you doing?
We're good. We're good.
Are we better?
Are we better? Can you hear us better? Excellent. So we were just talking there about. Sorry, go on.
For me, it's quite strange because obviously I've written a strip in the 77 with Andrew. Yeah, I've never talked to him.
Right.
So,
there we go.
I wrote From Lamore, which Andy illustrated, and yet I never ever have talked to him or seen his face.
So there we go. It's like pen pals.
Well, more sinister sometimes. Right, producing the 77's a bit like a terrorist cell. We all have our own little projects, but no one ever feeds back to each other. So
For all you know, it could have just been Ben sitting in his basement pretending to be all these different guys. You know, you're going to work with this guy, you're going to work with this guy, and all the time it's just Ben.
Like Mrs. Doubtfire. Sort of. Some bizarre. Anyway, Dave, it's nice to meet you, mate. Nice to meet you, Dave. Nice to meet you.
So yeah, I mean, 77 for me. I'm one of the directors. I do all the social media stuff. I'm one of the writers. So my strips are: I did Timber Curse in the first one, Trouble More in the second, and now I have a 3-part called The Trackless Depths, which is a seafaring one done by Ben McLeod. So that's very much like the kind of these arts, very much commando, like kind of battle, like really old school feel to it. And the same with Andrew's art. We wanted that kind of. It was, you know.
Well, you and I wanted to do something, you know, pulling on the girls' comics, and it sort of was then sandwiched amongst all the war and robots. But I quite liked the fact that it was that sort of, you know, a jarring story and style in the middle of the adventure stuff.
Or or as Ben likes to refer to as my gloomy stories.
It's what?
He refers to
Gloomy.
them as my gloomy stories because they're all
Gloomy stories. Yeah, it was very gloomy, but you know, great fun to work on.
Suits your style, Andy. You know, that dark sort of.
It's
heavy...
what it depends. Yeah, I've got many. I have many styles.
The man of many
I have
styles.
many. I am a chameleon.
So, just talking about you, Dave. What's your background? How did you, what's your background with comics? Who are your influences?
Unlike everybody else who is like a 2000 AD kid, I'm a bit. I mean, I didn't get into comics until the mid 80s. I was like, when I was 6, it was like Secret Wars, Marvel UK, so like Bambos stuff, like Death's Head, all that kind of thing. That was kind of mine. John Byrne in Fantastic Four, that was me. So I came to 2000 AD later. I met everybody else through 1977 2000 AD group, where I became a mod, an admin, and the next thing you know, I was doing the Twitter account for the 77. Never written before, and was encouraged to write by Ben, Steve, Dave, and Morgan. So I wrote the first one, and then I seem to become a writer now. I don't know how that's happened.
You'll have to work it out, because when you do these things, people will say, well, how did you become a writer? So when you answer these, you've got to have something ready.
I had no choice.
Yeah.
Well,
they'll take that to calling.
It mirrors my everything else in my life. How did you become an accountant? Not a clue.
Just fell into it.
It just happened.
I mean, one of the questions I'd like to ask is how did you manage to get people like, was it Steve McManus, Barry, all these guys? Oh, he doesn't like that one. Is it Barry Tomlinson?
I'm still here.
He's still there.
So
how did you manage to get them to work?
We knew through
with you.
Well, Steve, we knew through 2000 AD, and through we did an interview with loads of creators for the 2000 AD when we did what we refer to as the Golden Squirrel Awards, and from that we've always had a good working relationship with Steve. Barry, oddly, was through Twitter, and I got to know him through Twitter, and I found Barry a very good raconteur. He has loads of story. Honestly, get him on, because he will sit there and tell you stories about how he knows Ernie Wise and how he this close missed interviewing Pele, and you can sit there for hours and listen to Barry.
Because he was smack bang in there with Pat Mills and all those guys, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, what he hasn't done is he's very.
There we go, Shane. That's a recommendation.
He's just Roy of the Rovers, isn't it?
Yeah,
of course. Yeah.
Well, we hope to do another 77 episode in the future and get even more, some different creators on as well. Because I mean, how many people actually are working on the 77 at the moment? I mean, because it's pretty staggering, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So we normally have around about 10 strips. Well, obviously, we've got a writer and an artist and possibly a letterer and a colorist. So
20 plus. Yeah,
it is a cast of thousands.
Incredible.
So, I mean, Ben does an amazing job organising people, because I think I have problems just sorting stuff out on my own. So, how Ben does it, I don't know. But my job's the social media side. So, Well, I suppose the next thing for us really is kind of forging links with other people. We started getting into comic shops. I have an exclusive for you. We will be in Forbidden Planet International. They have started purchasing the 77 and the issue 1, 2, and 3. So, I mean, we were in WoW and Heroes and stuff, but Forbidden Planet.
That's really good.
Well, we can find us in Isotope in San Francisco.
I was talking to Ben about that on the Icecast audio podcast, actually, and he was telling me about that and how much they loved it in San Francisco. I mean, that's fantastic. To think all of your work is being shot out there. We just had another comment from Jeremy Dunn. Actually working on it right at the moment. So he didn't say that.
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing. So there you go.
I wanted to ask 2021. What's that going to bring? So we've got issue 4 is going to live on Kickstarter
next Friday.
Next Friday, isn't it?
Yeah,
End
we're
of the
going to have
month.
a live event next Friday. We'll try and not, clash it with yours. So, yeah, we've got live events next Friday, and obviously then we'll have looking to be out, January time. The issue 4 is going to be the variant front cover is going to be done by Lew, and it's going to look just like that kind of Christmas album that you used to get as a kid. With all, I'm very excited for Lew's front cover. I
think Lew's glad that you just reminded him. Oh, bugger! Did I agree to doing that?
Yeah, I'm roughing that out this weekend, and then I'll be drawing it next week. So
wow, that'll be
Lew's here, my favourite thing in Sergeant Shouting was the picture of your hand, and he just said, "Drawing Sergeant Shouting," just saying artist's impression.
Yeah,
I've been laughing for ages.
Yeah,
that was kind of a spontaneous thing because I was gonna. That panel would have involved redrawing something I'd drawn in the previous issue, so I thought, well, why do that? I can just show a photo of me.
Is there an old Daffy Duck cartoon? Is there an old Daffy Duck cartoon with the or a Bugs Bunny where the animator's hand comes in?
Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah.
I love that sort of stuff. I love all that stuff.
Do anything in comics,
I think with Sergeant Shouty, though, the older you get, the more you can associate with him and just your general outrage against random things that shouldn't really get you a noise, like there is no biscuit.
That's the plan. Yeah.
No, brilliant.
Cater for the 60s.
I'm quite happy that we've actually managed to be sort of a bullpen meeting for the creators and the editorial.
We don't get to talk very often.
Is there anyone else you'd like to check up on, Dave, and see how they're getting on?
This is looking into the process. This is great.
So, is anybody else struggling with their deadlines that you'd like to tell them off?
So, talking of deadlines, next year, Steve McManus's project.
Yes, we've got that coming up. So Steve's going to produce his version. If you've not read his book, The Sheer Glam Conspiracy, he theoretically makes a comic called Blaze, and it has all the scripts in it. So essentially, when you see these Stephen McManus stories in the 77, those are the ones from the pretend fictional. I'll do that with fictional because I'm quite sure it's very close to the bone comic. So we'll actually produce the full Blaze for Steve.
So I'll take over now. So the comic's called Blazer.
Yeah,
it's coming out. It's going to go to Kickstarter in January.
No, I don't know if it's going to be Kickstarter.
February.
I don't.
Early. Well, this is from Ben. So I'm art director on it, art editor, whatever. I've also got I've got a strip in there as well. So I've had the pleasure to work with Steve.
Have we got some visuals? Have we? The screen's just
I don't know.
There we
go.
There we go.
So that's the dummy of the cover that I've done.
This is the first time I'm seeing this. This is very
this is what I mean. It's top secret.
Let's let everyone on so they can see it, shall we?
Top secret stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a dummy. Won't look exactly like that.
1970s newsagent.
Exactly. So the idea is this is a lost comic from the early 70s that they found thousands of them.
Wow.
So that is Steve's sort of story behind the comic.
A bit like this is the Atari dump.
There we go.
Oh, love it.
So that's like a letters page I've designed.
Fantastic.
Excellent.
Yeah,
that's very cool.
We've gone for the that's one of my strips.
Oh, I like the credits box.
Yeah,
that's very cool.
The Blazer Hot Shots.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, so we've got half a dozen strips in there that Steve's written.
Wow.
Hopefully printed on newsprint.
Are any of the guys who are on tonight going to be appearing in this comic?
Well, me.
Just you. So this has now turned into the Andy Richmond show, has it, Andy?
Yeah, always does.
Temporarily.
Always does.
Brendon will be in it. Brendon.
Oh,
Brendon's
fantastic.
Yeah, Brendan's in it. Yes, that's Colin Maxwell. That's a nice one.
Oh, that's.
I'm trying to think.
We've got some lovely stuff. Some lovely stuff in there. So
looks really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
So it's going to be like if you're rooting through a charity shop and you find an old comic you never heard of. Hopefully, it's going to look like that. You know, it's going to be some beautiful, obscure.
The first episodes, are they going to be serialized in the 77? Did you say?
No.
So some of the stories that are in the comic have been in the 77 already.
Ah, right.
Potentially. It's all in the editorial flow. In the dummy I've got, not at the moment, but who knows?
Oh, Ben's back in the chat. Watch out, everyone. He said Brendon is appearing, so yeah, he's just confirming that Brendon's going to be.
Oh, Brendon's in it. There we go.
What's your story called in there, Brendon? Sorry, I think it was said, but I missed it.
Yeah, that was called The Tinkling Triangles.
Yeah.
And can we know what it's about, or is that a secret?
Well, that one was in the first issue of the 77.
Oh, right. So we've already seen that one.
Yeah,
right.
I can tell you though, it's a dysfunctional celebrity family who I'm on the side of their manager who's trying to get rid of them. So he sends them to a war world, and they do all sorts of horrible musical antics on the way. Yeah,
that sounds fun. That sounds like a lot of fun.
That's a nice comment there from Dorian about the Blazing page you just showed. Yeah.
Oh yeah. The last page
exactly what Steve and I were after. Exactly right. And when I was doing some of the little graphics, Steve was commenting saying, you know, that's exactly how my art boys would have done it back in the 70s. So really nice. Yeah. I think we're all so lucky to be able to work with all these fantastic guys.
Definitely.
Yeah, just want to quickly shout out to Darren Stevens, who colours my strip. The Division 77, he does a fantastic job. He's a great colorist, really, really good colorist. You know, so professional when he's done it. So
yeah, he's a great artist as well, Darren.
I had another comment.
Not just a colorist.
I had a comment from Filippo. I'm drawing the boot room boy for Blazer.
He is indeed.
Excellent. It sounds like this comic is well underway.
On my, I've got a 32-page mock-up, and currently I've got the cover, back cover, intro letters, and some strips, and a lot of blank pages. So it's starting to come together.
Cool.
We've also, I think, we've got Dan Cornwell as well in it.
I was going to say, are there any artists that we'd like to give and writers who aren't appearing that you'd like to give a shout out to, Dave, that aren't on here tonight? Who you'd like to mention?
Jeremy Dunn, of course. He's sterling. Mike Powell, Phil Elliott, Andy Hayes. In fact, most of them are in your chat room now.
Yeah, it does look that way. Yeah, so basically, we've got the rest of the team in the chat, haven't we?
Yeah.
That's great. Well, it's helped us have more viewers than we normally have. But it's really great to see all these guys.
It looks like we hit 10 o'clock, guys.
It has. I mean, I can't
Told
believe
it goes fast.
Yeah, it goes really, really quick. But before we do go, does anyone out there want to give any shout outs or anything like that? Or are we all happy? Look at all those beautiful. No one. Yeah, Andy.
Just want to say one thing.
Yep.
Oh.
Just absolutely thank you to every reader, everyone that's backed the Kickstarter. Without you guys, this whole show wouldn't exist. So the real thank you is to people that pick this up and read it. We've had letters, we've had fan art, they share it, they've written reviews, and it's gone all around the globe. Australia, the States, I sent copies out to Germany, California, Australia. It's been amazing. So thank you. You guys
Yeah.
You absolutely kill it. You all rock. Thank you.
I've just got two things quickly. One is we're going to have a Division 77 special that's going to be out, which will have new bits in it. The other bit is that we have an open submissions policy. Anybody can send anything in. If you've got a script you want us to look at, we'll look at it. If you've got art, send us in your sequential art and we'll have a look at it. If it's good enough,
what sort of stuff are you looking for? Are you looking for anything in particular in submissions, or is it really open, or is it just certain genres?
No. As long as you can demonstrate that you can do sequential art, then we'll have a look at it. Stories that we like to put in obviously do have a retro feel to them, but as you can tell, when it's sci-fi is sci-fi, isn't it?
There's so much you can do. Yeah.
So what we like to see is sequential art, though, not just draw us a picture.
Yeah.
But then maybe in the future there could be sort of like a Western special or a romance or a horror, all tying in with the retro feel.
Well, it'll be romance with a dark edge, won't it? It'll be...
Yeah. There we go.
Well, our open policy. That's why Anna came in. Anna Everett, who did the strip with Michael Powell, the Forgotten Realms one. Yeah. She's from Holland. Right. So she just emailed in Twitter.
Fantastic. So it's really open at the moment. Now is the time, isn't it? If you're a creator, doesn't matter where you are in the world, whether it's the UK, America, Europe, Asia, doesn't matter. Just send in your stuff, and if it's good enough, there's a good chance that you're going to make it into the book, which is exciting times for creators. And there's the email there on the screen from Ben for submissions. So Ben, I hope you're ready for a big influx of submissions.
There we go.
A reply to Dorian.
Kickstarter will be starting end of January. So anyone involved, get your art to me. Get your art submitted.
We'll be supporting that Kickstarter, I think, definitely. Yeah. And we'll probably have another show highlighting the Kickstarter as well. We'll get some different creators on here. We have gone way over our hour now, and it does go really quick. But thank you so much, guys, all of you, for being on the show. We know it's a quick one, but it's been an absolute pleasure to meet you all. I know some of you guys already, but it's been really nice to see you. And all the best.
Hopefully see you all at a Comic-Con again someday soon. Someday soon.
Good night.
Take care, guys.
All the best, guys. Take care. Good night. Run, BT, Sam.